So The New Man, which is a documentary directed by Josh Appignanesi and Devorah Bum, who's his wife, and Josh Appignanesi directed the film Infidel, which Dave Baddiel wrote, and he takes an executive producer credit here. And it's co-directed with Devorah, and it is a documentary about their home life. They've been trying for children through fertility treatment, and it hasn't succeeded. Now suddenly they find themselves in a position when it is happening. And what happens is that Josh Appignanesi starts filming himself, and he obviously started out making a movie, thinking that he was going to make a movie about the way in which having a child was going to, change and affect his life. He was no longer going to be the centre of the world. And he does, an awful lot of that sort of worrying out loud stuff that to some extent, people will be familiar with. But then what happens is that there are complications, and his self-proclaimed self-obsession starts to shift, and he starts to discover the world sort of reconfiguring around him. He is aided enormously in the fact that Devorah has got is an extraordinarily eloquent subject who, even whilst all this stuff is happening around her, finds a way of talking about what's happening to her in a way which is really precise and concise and poetic. At one point, she talks about love being so intense that it is painful. And it is, I would do her an injustice if I tried to quote it. It is a really superbly moving moment. The thing the film does is it takes you inside their house. And despite the fact that there's a couple of scenes that look to me like they might have been restaged, actually, for the most part, it does that thing that a documentary needs to do, which is it seems truthful. Not just in that it's truthful, it's showing you stuff that actually happened, but it's truthful in that it gets to the heart of something which is a universal truth. Initially, the life that you're seeing may be a life that you're not familiar with. It's the company they keep, the place they live. This isn't universal subject matter, but it then becomes a universal subject about parenting, about what it means to be in a position of having a child, about the triumph and the tragedy, about the difficulty and the joy, about the way in which that fundamentally changes everything that you are. It becomes a film about relationships between parents and children, and it genuinely won me over. And I have to confess that at the beginning I was slightly on the back foot. I wasn't sure that wasn't sure where we were going and whether there was an indulgence involved in hearing Josh Appignanesi talking about how this was going to change his life. And then the film itself, which, as I said, is directed by the two of them, becomes a very, very moving and involving and I say this, an honest depiction of this enormous life change. I think it's a film which is told with great honesty and love, and it's very moving.